Hi everyone, it's Marisa from BumblebeeApothecary.com. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'd like to go over and show you the essential things that you need to have in your kitchen before you start the GAPS diet. I have a lot of GAPS diet videos on my channel so far, and I'm going to link some helpful ones in the description box below so you can check those out. But this one is just going over everything that you want to make sure that you have in your kitchen ready to go when you start the GAPS diet. It'll make it so much easier if you have everything lined up and ready to use, because starting the GAPS diet is not the easiest thing to do, and if you have all of your supplies and foods and everything ready to go, then it makes it so much easier, so much more doable, and you're much more likely to stick with it and experience the amazing benefits from it. I do have a free printable checklist of everything that I'm about to talk about that you can download and print so that you have it to use for yourself, and I'm going to put a link in the description box below where you can grab that. But let's get started. Let's first talk about the things that you need to have in your kitchen as far as kitchen equipment. So when we're healing from the GAPS diet, one of the things that we're focusing on is our lifestyle and making sure that we're getting rid of toxins, not exposing ourselves to toxins, and getting rid of anything that might be made of plastic or Teflon coated nonstick cookware, things like that are not the best choices just because of the chemicals that are in them. So you'll notice that on my checklist that I talked about, I also mentioned getting rid of some of those things like that, as well as getting rid of, or at least putting in another place in your house, the food that you're not supposed to be eating right now, and then just keeping your kitchen really stocked and full of all of the foods that you are supposed to be eating. That's one of the really big tips for success, is keeping all those things within reach. First thing is the dishes that you're going to be using for cooking in. You're going to want to make sure that you have a nice big stainless steel stock pot like this one. It's nice and big so you can make a large batch at once. You'll be making a lot of meat stock and bone broth on the GAPS diet, and having a large pot to be able to do that in is very, very helpful. You can make large batches and keep it in the refrigerator for a while and freeze it for longer term storage. So you definitely want to have a nice big stock pot. Stainless steel is ideal. The next thing that you want to have is the stainless steel and wooden kitchen utensils. Since you'll be eating a lot of soup, a ladle is really important to have, and then just other things like spatulas and stirring spoons and different things like that. You want to make sure to stay away from plastic utensils, again, eliminating the chance of toxins from plastics being in and around your food. And if you hear noises in the background, that's just my kids playing, so don't mind them. And in the category of utensils, you want to make sure to have a strainer, a nice metal strainer like this, for when you make the bone broth and meat stock, so that you can strain that. Other types of cookware that you want to have are things like, let's see, I have this full of produce, but glass cookware like this, so that you can have safe things to cook in. Stainless steel and cast iron are, especially cast iron for on the stove and in the oven, are very good to have. All non-toxic, safe cookware options. And then you also want to make sure that you don't use plastic food storage containers as much as possible, but go ahead and use some glass ones. So I like these that have the type of lid that actually just snaps on like this. It's very secure and minimizes leaks and things like that. Another really important kitchen staple for real food cooking and GAPS diet cooking is a bunch of wide mouth mason jars. I like to have these in quart size mostly, and some pint size and half-gallon size are also very nice. These are great for when you're making fermented foods, to keep those in, as well as storing different dairy products and just all kinds of different foods. Another thing that's great to have is a crock pot, and this is wonderful for easy meal prep. You can also use it for making the meat stock and the bone broth. So that's definitely an essential item. Another thing that's really great to have is a yogurt maker. Now, if you want to get an Instant Pot, or if you already have an Instant Pot, that can also be used as a yogurt maker. So you could also have something that multitasks in that way if you have an Instant Pot or want to invest in one. Otherwise, a yogurt maker is a really important thing to have. You'll also need a juicer. We'll be making a lot of fresh juices on the GAPS diet, which is a really nice, gentle way to detoxify the body. So you'll need to get a juicer. And everything that I'm talking about, I own these things, and I'm going to put links below to the ones that I really like and have used for a long time that have worked really well for me. So check out the description box for all those links below. Another thing that's really, really helpful is a blender. Now you can get by with a basic, inexpensive blender, but if you have some money to invest in good kitchen tools, then it is really nice to have a good blender. So I have this Blendtec. It's the large wild side one. I've had this one for many years now, and it works so well. It's so powerful, and it really makes a lot of things so easy. You can make so many different foods with it, do a lot of different food processing in it, and then if you end up eating smoothies a lot like we do, you'll use this all the time. And then last but not least, definitely in the equipment section, is a copy of the GAPS Diet book, Gut and Psychology Syndrome by Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride. There are other things that you can get to make life easier in the kitchen, like different things for cutting and chopping, a food processor, but those are not essential and not absolutely necessary. So if you have them or want to invest in them, that's great, but these things that I've listed here are the essentials that you'll need to have to get started. Now moving on to the foods category. The biggest and most important thing are going to be pasture-raised organic meats, and then also the bones that go with them. So we'll be doing a lot of soup bones like this. Chicken feet are another thing that are really, really great for making that nice gelatinous meat stock, and also bone broth. I have a video tutorial on how to make meat stock, and I'm going to be doing one on how to make bone broth a little later on, as well as bone broth with beef bones and chicken bones, different types of bone broth. As far as meats, you can do whole birds like whole chickens, you can do ground beef, you can do different cuts of beef, stew meat. The most important thing is making sure that you source them really well so that they're from healthy, organic, grass-fed animals. That will give you the highest nutrient quality, and having it be organic is going to be helpful in making sure that you're eliminating that toxic burden on your body. And then next after that is going to be the organic produce. So some staple items that you want to make sure to kind of keep on hand at all times because you use them so often are things like onions, garlic, celery, carrots, and then winter squash. Those are like the staples. If you have that, you can make lots of different nourishing soups and things like that and keep you nice and full and satisfied. Of course, there's so many other vegetables and fruits and different things that you'll be allowed to eat on the GAPS diet too, and definitely work through those. Try to have as much variety as possible because that makes it enjoyable, but these ones are the absolute essential ones that you'll want to have to get started. You'll need apples and carrots and a few other things for juicing as well. You'll want to have a really good high quality salt on hand. We've been using this pink Himalayan salt, and that's great because it has a lot of good minerals in it. Some fresh ground black pepper or whole peppercorns are really good. You'll use those for making the meat stock and broth and soups and lots of other dishes. You will need to prepare and have on hand some homemade fermented foods. I recommend starting with sauerkraut because that's a really easy one to prepare and it's very, very beneficial. You'll want to think about this ahead of time because it does take a little bit for it to ferment and things. So to have it ready to eat, you'll want to make sure that you get right on that and make that. I have a video tutorial on how to make sauerkraut as well, and I'll link the different recipe videos that I have down below so you can find those easily. And then there are the different fermented dairy products. Again, these take a little bit of time to get going and make, so you will want to start thinking about those and getting those ready. Some important ones are going to be homemade yogurt, homemade sour cream, preferably from grass-fed raw milk. I have tutorials on those as well, which I'll link below. You will need the herbs for making the different teas. There is chamomile that is a choice. There's also mint and ginger root that are especially good for healing the digestive system. I have also a video on how to make that, but you want to make sure to have those herbs ready to go. Pasture-raised organic eggs are really important. You want to make sure that you have a good supply of those. Those are really nutritious and you'll end up eating a lot of those on the GAPS diet. You'll also want to have some fresh organic herbs for cooking. These help make the food really tasty, and they have beneficial properties themselves. And then moving into the fats category, you want to make sure that you have some pasture-raised butter for eating as butter and for making ghee. You also want some other fats, some really nice fats that pretty much agree with everybody right from the start are things like tallow from grass-fed beef, duck fat is another option, lard as long as it's from a healthy source. Fats like that, fats are so nourishing and you heal so much quicker the more healthy animal fats that you include in your diet on the GAPS diet. So you want to make sure to have those on hand. Some organic nut butter is really good to have. You can make various treats and snacks and things with it. Some cold pressed olive oil is really good to have. Also, you can make dressings for different dishes with it. And then last of all, once you move into the stage where you can start making some GAPS friendly baked goods, you want to make sure to have some almond flour and coconut flour. That way you can make those delicious baked goods and not feel deprived on the GAPS diet. Okay, so that's pretty much everything that you want to make sure that you have to get started. Like I said, you can always add more things later on, and you will definitely want to add more foods and things, but this is what you need to have to be able to have a really good chance at success getting started with the GAPS diet and to be able to experience those great benefits. I will put the link below, like I mentioned, to this printable checklist so that you can have this handy and make sure that your own kitchen is ready to go for the GAPS diet. And then also be sure to check out that description box for the links to all of the different equipment and things that I like to use. There's also going to be a link to a food co-op that is called Azure Standard that I like to get a lot of organic foods from. So if you're looking for sources for things, that's a really good place to start, and I'll have a link to that below. Also be sure to head on over to my blog, bumblebeeapothecary.com. There's all the recipes that I mentioned that I have video tutorials for. There's printable recipe cards over there, lots of different articles and good information, so I'll put a link to that below. Be sure to go over and check that out. You can also follow me on Instagram, where I show kind of what's going on in our daily life a little bit more, especially in the Instagram stories, so you can head on over there and follow me there. I'll put a link below to that also. Okay, I hope that you enjoyed seeing that. I hope that you found it helpful in getting ready for the GAPS diet. If you like this video and found it helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up, share it with anybody that you think also might find it helpful. Also be sure and hit that subscribe button. I make new videos every week on traditional health wisdom and living a sustainable DIY lifestyle. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.